Another creative technique is twin needlework. In this case, we're going to use a 2.0 twin needle, but I need to set the machine up first. The first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I'm on a straight stitch. Now, you can use a decorative stitch when you are using a twin needle, such as a zigzag or the 3-step zigzag, but what you're going to want to watch is your width. Because I only have a 5mm opening, I have to be able to have that needle go backwards and forwards from the left to the right without hitting the presser foot. Next, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change my stitch length to about 2.5, and because I'm just going to sew a straight stitch, I want to make sure that my needle is in that center position by changing it to that number 2. Now, because I'm going to be using 2 threads, I need to have an additional space for that second thread. This is actually an additional spool pin, and it is part of your accessory kit with the Baby Lock Zeal. On the top of the machine, right behind the width selection, there is a small square hole, and this spool pin lines right up with that, and you just slide it in place, and then it sits flush with the base of the machine. So my second spool of thread will go in that position, and we're just going to simply place that in place there, and you can see now it's going to slide over into that first guide just like the spool of thread that's already sitting in position. We're going to go down to the number 2 setting. We're going to go up to the number 3. Now turn that hand wheel so you can make sure that you see that take up lever and slide that thread in place. Now at this point, I'm going to stop with my threading because there's one thing I need to do is I need to change that needle. This is a single needle and I need my twin needle in place. Take my handy dandy little screwdriver, and right to the right where the needle sits, there's a large black screw. I'm going to loosen that screw so that needle pops out. Now a twin needle, if you're unfamiliar with the twin needle, is actually 2 needles that have been joined by this little red bar, and there are varying widths, and the widths are the distance between the 2 needles. This is a 2.0mm twin needle, and at the top you'll find that there is only one position to place this into the needle guide on our machine. Again, you have a flat side and you have a round side on the needle, and the round side always faces towards you, meaning the flat side towards the back. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slide this in position. Okay, now that it's in position and I make sure that it's all the way up, I'm going to lightly tighten that screw with my finger, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to give it a little turn with that screwdriver to make sure it's in place. Now at this point, you do need to thread, or you will need to thread the needles by hand. The needle threader will not work. But let's finish threading here. So I'm going to come down to number 4. My left thread is on the left side, and I'm going to place that right thread on the guide on the right hand side here and slide through. Now I always go ahead and I clip my thread tail so I have a nice clean edge, and now I'm going to thread each needle. We'll start with the left and then we'll move over to the right. Here's our left needle. Pull that thread through a little bit, and then this will be my right needle. Sometimes I find that if I sit just at a slight angle to that needle eye, I'm able to pop it right into that needle eye. And there's my second needle, and I'm set to go. I'm going to go ahead and place those threads underneath my presser foot. So now I'm just going to go ahead and mark my fabric. I just want 1 row of some type of marking so that I have something to follow. I'm going to go ahead and place that underneath the presser foot. And what I'm doing is I'm straddling this marked line in between my 2 needles. Presser foot's lowered. Start to sew, and I'll sew a little bit slower. Now I actually have the buttonhole foot or the B foot on. You could also, if you wanted to, you can also use the standard presser foot. Either foot is fine. I just like to use this clear foot so that I can see where I'm stitching, making sure that I'm lined with that marked line. I'm going to come to the end, take my needle out of the fabric, raise my presser foot, and then I'm ever so gently going to pull that thread out. And here is my first row of my twin needle work. Imagine rows and rows and rows of that on a garment or on a home deck project. All this with the twin needle and the Baby Lock Zeal.